Why does my ex talk badly about me when I didn't even behave all that terribly? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But first, my name is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you're not, because you deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor. Support this channel by hitting that thumbs up button and by subscribing if you're new here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So your ex is, not being totally fair with you, talking badly about you, saying bad things about you after the breakup. And sure, maybe you have your fair part to contribute to the breakup, but you didn't do all the things that they said you did. You're not as bad as they said you are. So what's going on? Why are they doing this? So what's happening here is basically this. In order to break up with somebody, a person has to sort of go through a certain psychological process. You see, when you break up with somebody, you're kind of hurting them. You're kind of causing them pain. Maybe in your breakup, there were tears involved. Maybe there was crying. Maybe there were a lot of emotions. That's usually the case. And because of that, your ex probably is stuck feeling, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? I hurt someone. I made them cry. I caused them a lot of emotional distress. What does that say about me? And nobody wants to think of themselves as a bad person, as somebody who goes out and hurts others, as somebody who causes them to cry or anything like that. And so what has to happen is your ex needs to start to think about things in a certain way that allows them to live with themselves. So what they often need to do is they need to delete, distort, or generalize certain things that happened about you in the relationship or about the relationship in general or about themselves in order to justify why they actually did what they did, why they had to break up with you, why it was the only choice that they could do. And so they may end up kind of twisting the truth a little bit in order to hold on to this idea that they're a reasonable, decent person and they're not some sort of bad person that's intentionally going out there and hurting people. So what happens is they might stretch the truth. They might take one little thing that you did once that maybe was, let's just say, not the greatest, and they might expand it into the entire relationship. Like maybe you had one really bad argument and they say, oh, well, all we ever do is fight. Or maybe they said, you never do this, even though you only let them down one time or something like that. They may stretch the facts. They may exaggerate certain things. They may conveniently forget some of the nice things that happened between the two of you. Very common. And so what's happening here is your ex is creating an image of you in their mind of someone that's worth breaking up with. They're creating an image of you in their mind to tell themselves a story that like, yeah, I had no choice but to break up with you. I had no choice but to do this. It was the only thing I could do. I'm not a bad person. I didn't have to do this. I didn't need to do this. I'm not a bad person. I didn't want to do this, but I had to because the situation was so extreme. Now, the problem is that your ex is interacting with you as if you are this bad person, as if you are this negative person. In reality, it's just an image that they're holding in their mind. It's not who you genuinely are. Now, sure, maybe you did some things to warrant the breakup. Maybe you said some things that you shouldn't have said. Maybe you didn't do some things that you should have done or whatever. That's totally understandable. But your ex is holding on to this negative image of you. And, if you're like most people that I work with, you probably made some changes and you probably have done some things to get your life in the right track and to get your emotions handled and to get everything figured out so that your ex knows that they're not walking back into the same relationship that they walked out of. But the problem is that they're still holding on to this negative image. And so what happens is when the two of you interact with one another, they're basically not interacting with the real you, they're interacting with this image over here. And so there's this little bit of a disconnect. There's the real you over here, and then there's this image over here. So when they're talking bad things about you that aren't true, it's because they're talking about this image over here and not about the real you over here, especially if you made some substantial and meaningful, significant changes. So what you want to do is you want to continue to be this person over here, the person who has made all of these changes, the person who is not the same person that their ex broke up with and all of that. And what's going to happen is the more you interact with your ex, the more it's going to cause them to doubt this negative image that they had to create of you in order to justify breaking up. And what's going to happen is your probably going to experience what we call positive pullbacks, because when you interact with your ex, whether it's through text or meeting up in person or over the phone or whatever, and you're not that negative person that they hold in their mind, they're going to say, hey, what's going on here? You know, I thought you were this person, but then when we got together, texted, talked, whatever, I saw this person. What's happening? Is this just you on your best behavior? Is this you using some sort of gimmick that you heard about online? Is this, what's happening? And they're not going to know which version is the real you. Now, granted, they probably like this version. They probably like interacting with you. They probably like the interactions that you're having when you're not the same person that they broke up with, but they just don't trust it yet. And so what's going to happen is after a positive interaction, they're going to pull back, most likely, and they're going to do this out of uncertainty, not knowing which one they should put their faith in. And just know that when you have these positive pullbacks, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that they're trying to make sense of their experience. They're trying to make sense of which version of you is the real version of you. So it's part of the process. Just continue to show up with consistency. Continue to show them that you're not the person that they broke up with. Continue to show up as this person, the new, improved, wonderful person who has fixed all of the issues with the relationship, and continue to take away the power from this negative image that they hold of you in their mind. Every time you show up and you're not that negative image, you're going to put cracks in it. And those cracks are going to start to grow and compound upon one another to the point that that whole negative image starts to crumble and fall apart. Okay, that is the most important thing in these sorts of situations, is to continue to show up with consistency, to continue to show up and to really fuel this positive version of you rather than the negative version of you, because every interaction that you have with your ex is either going to fuel the positive version or the negative version. And when you fuel the positive version, you're going to actually increase the velocity at which you're moving towards actually getting back together and your ex building more trust towards you. And when you unfortunately fuel the negative version, you're just going to slow yourself back. You're going to have more setbacks. You're going to have more challenges along the way. So, you have to choose which one you're going to fuel, which one you're going to invest in, which one you're going to give your ex a reason to believe in. That's why personal transformation, that's why making some significant changes, that's why giving your ex demonstrable proof that they are not walking back into the same relationship that they walked out of is absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical. You can't just say some sort of magic text message and have everything be all better, because you have to show them. You have to demonstrate to them that they are not walking back into the same situation that they walked out of in the first place. And once they start to put their trust in it, once they start to believe it, once they start to see it with their own eyes and really get it on a visceral level, that this isn't just some sort of gimmick, this isn't just some sort of something that you learned on the internet or something like that, they'll actually start to open up to you in a big way. And that's where rapid progress starts to happen. So don't worry if your ex is saying bad things about you. Don't worry if your ex is not being completely, forthright about what happened or anything like that. It's just them interacting with that negative version of you in their mind. It's them trying to tell themselves a story that they had no choice but to break up with you, that they had no choice, that they're not a bad person, that basically hurting you, leaving that relationship was the only option available to them, okay? They don't want to think of themselves as a bad person, so they need to tell themselves this story. And your job is to take more and more and more power away from that story by showing up consistently in every single interaction that you have with them as somebody who is not that negative version that they hold of you in their mind. Because the more you do that with consistency over time, the more and more trust they'll put into you as the person that they can connect with, spend time with, and be in a relationship with, and the less and less trust they'll put in that negative image of you that they seem to be holding on to right now. So I hope that this has all helped you out. I hope that this has given you a little bit of perspective about what's going on, and more importantly, what you can do about it moving forward from here. So, if you're new here, once again, think about subscribing to this channel. If you, like this channel, if you like what we're doing here, please help a guy out by hitting that thumbs up button. It does help out the channel. It does help to promote this video on YouTube to other people. And if you want to know more about what your ex is thinking, you may want to check out this series over here that I put together on sort of the psychology of your ex, what's going on in their mind, or you may want to check out this video over here. But once again, my name is Clay with Modern Love Life. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next time.